right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Texas Best Barndominium podcast. And today I have a couple of co-hosts here with me. Drew Peterson.
What's up, guys?
And my lovely wife, Brandy Helm.
That's me.
So we're looking forward today to basically kind of doing another type of an introductory, but this is for our Barndominium series that we're going to be doing on building a barndominium. So I've got quite a bit already kind of lined up in regards to that, and there's going to be a lot of episodes coming that we're trying to plan right now, even for on a weekly basis, so that we can kind of be pumping this podcast with some great information.
Yeah.
So it's going to be called Building Barndominiums, Start to Finish. And some of the early episodes, we're still doing some of the planning and stuff like that for that. But I thought, hey, wouldn't it be good if we could go ahead and kick this thing off with, answering some of our already most wanted answers, or answer some of the questions that we get asked on a routine basis, because I know you, Brandy, you're every day answering the phone, you know, and we've had to tell you to turn it off for a few minutes so we could sit down here and answer some questions.
If I miss a call, it's your fault.
Yeah, it's my fault, guys. If you call into the office right now, you're not going to get Brandy.
You're going to get some guy in Florida that doesn't know what a barndominium is.
Okay.
They have barndominiums in Florida, don't they? Is it just a Texas thing?
No, not really.
Okay. So anyways, ultimately what we're looking forward to doing is trying to dive into some of these questions. And I know that you previously have actually gone to the website or put a list and constructed some of these things, and a lot of people might not know is there. So go ahead and give us some kind of idea, because, Drew and I were talking, what kind of information are you having to spew out on a daily basis? So,
all right. So, the first thing that I always get asked is location. Where are we willing to travel? And
Red Oak.
Yeah. We have about a 100-mile radius from Red Oak. So, if you can kind of put that in your Google Maps or whatever and see the distance, we have about a 100-mile radius. We have to do that because all the subs that we use, we're already going in 100 miles in every direction, so we really kind of have to keep it a little more localized for them. We don't want cabinet guy driving 4 hours to bring cabinets and things like that. So,
right. I mean, it's really important to make sure that we can actually service the build and be able to get, materials, equipment, these kind of things, and it's not that big of a stretch to be able to get across town. So that's key in making sure that we can best service the areas. And I know it's getting a little more difficult because of all the surrounding areas, but even Drew here, I can't pull him out of the hole, as we call it.
Closet.
Out of my closet, my editing closet.
It takes a little bit of time and coordination, especially when you start spreading things out.
Yeah, jobs are pretty well spread out all across,
which is a good thing. It's kind of what we want, but we want to take on as much work as we can. But so location is a big thing. So to recap, it's 100 miles out of the Red Oak area. Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex is where we're at. We get calls out of Houston and all over the place, all over in Texas, honestly. But a lot of people are hoping and praying that we can come to wherever they're at, but it's just not feasible sometimes, for us to be able to go that distance.
Right. And usually after I have to break the news to them that we're too far or they're too far for us to come, the next question is always if we have someone that we would refer them to that does the same kind of build as us.
Okay, so another question is, do we refer other people? And I guess this is an interesting question that we do get a lot. Being that we are busy and we're building barndominiums, we're kind of wrapped up into our work. And at the moment, the time being, we don't have a whole lot of extra time for the networking and trying to get everybody, to meet all the other contractors that might be trying to do what we do.
Yeah, right. I think that's one of our goals as far as video even goes is not to totally share every aspect of what we do, but kind of our process. And that if that is one of your goals outside of our area to build, how, what are the steps involved that we at least kind of go through on the daily and what to expect, maybe working with another contractor.
Yeah, because in a different territory, maybe where, say, they're in another state or another climate or something completely different, those contractors in those areas are going to have a different set of skills that are maybe catering to that climate, whether it's hurricanes, whether it's extreme snow. Always tell people, please, refer to your local municipalities and local building codes and everything that it's required for that area because, it's going to be a little different than here in the metropolitan of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I like to think we relatively have good weather, but at the end of the day, there are a lot of things to our build process that might apply. And, but if I was a builder in some of these areas, I might take a different approach to trying and to addressing whatever issues or challenges that we might have in that area. So, yeah. All right, what's next?
Well, on that same note, I usually, if we can't service someone's area, I usually try to direct them into a way that they might find somebody. One of those ways being reaching out to a local metal or steel supply company and looking to see if they would refer a builder to them that's local, that's doing those kind of builds. They're going to know they're getting their steel from them and things like that. So that's usually my first suggestion. My second is also, I know there's some Barndominium groups on Facebook. If you join a few of the larger ones, they have a high number of members on there. And there's people asking all day long about referrals, and it's a great resource for people just starting out, like trying to get ideas, and people are posting pictures and their plans and asking about basements that we don't do those kind of, we're not really doing basements in Texas, but they are able to be done, and there's people doing them. And so there's people on, from other areas, like you said, different climates that do things a little differently than we do. So.
Yeah, so if you haven't exhausted all other aspects of the networking that's already there, like such as social media, Facebook, all these types of groups, and we have a MeWe account too now, and I think there's even some groups on there that I was noticing, and Parlor maybe if it comes back up, all these kind of things are great ways to create a group and to gather ideas. Maybe in your area, you can start reaching out to find, make a network in your area. I know we have a neighborhood app, things like that. Who knows what's going on in your climate or your area that might be beneficial for building a barndominium. And if not, maybe you can lead the way, right? And start networking. And so that's important, is to see what is already there, see what you have. And I do think it's a good idea to reach out maybe to a local steel supplier or, of course, a lot of people want to just come straight to us because they see what we're building and they want to know how they can build exactly what we're doing. And we would wish we could help everybody, but we just can't. We won't be able to help everybody. So even with the phone calls, sometimes I know people get growingly frustrated if they can't reach us right away, and a lot of people don't realize we're sort of a small outfit still.
Yeah, if you don't get me, you get our answering service.
So you're not really, we're not trying to be the biggest company in the world. We're not scaled to where we're just going to hire a bunch of people, especially with the way the pandemic, climate change, and all this kind of stuff has been happening. So it's relatively still small on our end.
We're just trying to be Texas best.
We're just trying to be Texas best, right?
Yeah, we're not in Alaska and Colorado and some of those other places. We can't be Colorado's best right now.
Right, and so that's key. But our heart goes out to all those people who certainly we feel honored that they appreciate our build style. That hey, I talked to some people from Colorado today that are building here and are going to go with us. So, we've got people that are actually moving here, and we're looking forward to working with them. So they're going to be over in the Ben Wheeler area, which is out past Canton.
I got news for you. There's a lot of people moving here.
Yeah, there are a lot of people moving to Texas. So if you're moving to Texas, I guess you can reach out to us and build a Barndominium.
Hey, just check our radius first before you land.
Okay, so that's it gets a couple of questions. If you guys have been interested in knowing more about this process, what else, Brandy?
So a lot of times people are looking for plans. If they're not in our area, they're like, hey, I really love that Hill County Barndominium, and I would love to see the plans. Can I buy the plans from you? Well, the thing about the plans of the builds that we're doing, they're actually for customers. These aren't spec homes that we're building and putting on the market. These are actual custom homes for individuals that have provided those plans to us. So we wouldn't be able to share those with you. We're not going to share their cost with you. We're not going to share their personal information with you. Josh usually tries to kind of showcase a view of the plans when we first start the building process. But most of the times, I know, ladies, you have to know I'm right. I love this house, but like there's always, that house is just perfect, but I need one more thing, or I need to move this, or I need to add this, or change this. So whenever we're working off these plans, they're not a digital form that we can just move a wall and say, here's you a new set of plans like you want. They're going to have to be redrawn anyways. So that's a main question that we get. I know we'd like to have some plans available, but we just don't have that yet. And again, they would all probably want to be customized to some extent. So
absolutely. And I mean, plans are obviously a big part of the beginning stages. And as a matter of fact, one of our first episodes coming up on this Building Barndominium start to finish episodes is going to be talking about plans and specs. And so we're looking forward to that. And we're going to be bringing in some help on the discussion there. But so we look forward to covering that topic in the upcoming podcast. But that is a common question. It's like you see it across Facebook all the time. You see it across Instagram, and everybody just say, I just want this, and you're right. You're 100% right. They're probably going to want to change something. And it's just not that expensive to personalize for building your custom home. You got to kind of come out of that spec home mentality for a minute and get your design done. You're going to be building, you're going to be paying all this money for your house and your land and everything else. Why not spend whatever it is, say $800 to $1,500 more dollars, and have a customized layout, for your barndominium. So, and it can be reasonable. You could spend a lot of money if you don't work with the right person. But I would say this, you don't have to use, say, a full-blown architect to do a layout for plans. You can use a draftsman. You can work with somebody who specifically can help you with just your plans. So
one thing that I always tell people, because they're like, can I get my plans from anywhere? If I bring you plans, can you use them? And we definitely can. One thing that you have to keep in mind, though, is that we do a 2x6 exterior wall. And if you don't have that in your plans, it's gonna throw your plumbing, it's going to throw your walls off. Nothing's going to line up like it's supposed to. So we can use other plans, but you may need to make a change with whoever your designer is and have them put that in there.
Yeah, that's getting into the specifics if you were working directly with us.
Yeah. And
it is something that is important for that. is knowing that our plans we have some little tweaks, and we have a draftsman. We have a guy that works directly with us. He's not an employee, but he works directly with us. We're not going to necessarily name drop him right here because already we are populating his workload tremendously on a daily basis, and he's helping us big time. So we need his help. So probably if you're not building directly with us, he's not going to be available at this time for, at least as far as we're concerned. You could certainly do your own research and probably find out who it is. Yeah. But we don't want to make it well known because we have a lot of clients that, need plans, and, I don't want them to not be able to get plans for when we need them.
I guess the next thing that people always ask is the time frame and the building time frame. I know I always tell people, the inside is going to take the same amount of time as a traditional home. You got all the same components. You're going to have your cabinets are going to be custom built. You're going to have everything's going to take time on the inside. The main thing is that you can get it dried in quicker. But what's the time frame?
Well, Drew can kind of probably add to this because he just had a home built the last year or so.
Yeah, how long did that take?
Well, I know their goal is usually like 90-day turnaround when you do spec homes, but you got to think about they're also doing 50 homes in the same street. They're just back to back. They don't have the kind of the influx that we have as far as you got to go to from one location that may be another 50 miles down the road is the next location. So it's not quite the same. But all in all,
a lot of these homes do go really fast. And that's why a lot of people are a little more surprised if it takes us a little bit longer. And I'm always surprised because I see this on people will make comments or whatever and say, well, why would I pay this much? Because it takes less time to do what you're doing. And it's like, that's interesting. You're telling me that since I'm the one doing it.
Yeah. The pros and cons, though, is, we have a spec home. We didn't get to design the home. We did not get to have that option to have a customized floor plan and everything else, especially the builder that we went with. We couldn't customize color on walls or anything.
Yeah. It's a mirror image of your neighbors sometimes.
It is. In fact, there's about 4 houses on our street with the exact same house. And I drove by one neighborhood, all in our area. It's all new development. And one neighborhood the other day, there was literally 20 concrete trucks out there and 4 pump trucks just going lot to lot.
Wow.
Just, pouring concrete all day long. And so that's an advantage when you have a development where it just goes very quickly. So you can have that 90-day turnaround.
Yeah, you're not driving 100 miles one way.
You can pre-order your cabinets. You can, what you're put your tile.
I think that's what people need to have realistic expectations, number one. But in previous to pandemic times, I would say right now, but previously I would always say 4 to 6 months. But in our world right now, I tell people, look, I wouldn't tell you any less than 6 months. I mean, just alone in windows, we went from getting windows in 2 to 3 weeks to 8 to who knows whenever weeks, because I've been waiting for 12, sometimes more weeks. So if you guys are listening out there and you are a window supplier or manufacturer and you want to directly supply me windows within 2 to 3 weeks.
The builder that I went through talking to one of the supervisors that, has a location and development, they're dealing with the same issue. Even other realtors that I've talked to that are helping their clients with builds, same problem, windows.
Yeah, it's an issue. Windows are definitely an issue, but also some of your other things like overhead doors, some of these things can be an issue. And our lead time to getting materials for actually our steel structure, some of that takes a little more time. But regardless of that, it's not something that should set anybody back to wanting to build. It hasn't been anything like that.
Well, a lot of it's COVID related too. Like they're shutting down plants for things like that. So hopefully, some of that will kind of work itself out, and we won't have as many delays in the future.
Right. So, what other kind of questions are we looking at besides the how long does it take? I mean, I know that's just a common question. I don't know that that's a deal breaker deal for most people to wait another month than they would for a spec home.
No, I don't think it's a deal breaker for sure. I know number one question on any social media is cost. Do you want to go over that, or you just want to refer to our
cost,
video?
I mean, cost has made some, there's definitely been some tweaking to cost along the way. I can tell you this, maybe we should talk a little bit about how we're going to derive cost, but I could tell you a little bit basically that, square footage rules the day, like I've always said. We're still going by the living square footage. It's going to have its cost, which you can refer back to the cost video that we did, which we talk about all of the standard finishes and everything that it entails to do to build a Barndominium. And we're still based on that same price ranging now, which is basically approximately $110 to $120 a square foot. Now, we don't start at $110 anymore because of the framing, lumber prices, and things like that. So our pricing has gone up, but it hasn't gone up above those perimeters, which we're
still in the window.
We're still in that. We're still in that in the market for the moment. We don't know the future. We don't know, like I said, but in current today's pricing, that's where we're at. But there are things that maybe we could go further in specifics, because sometimes people are a little bit taken back because they don't realize there's additional things that do cost above and beyond just, say, a rate. Right. Because you might need a well. You might need an extra pad site work done beyond what might be standard. So there might be additional work that we need to do there. You might have you might be building 1,500 feet off the road. Well, that means you're going to have underground that needs to be put in for plumbing, or you're going to have some additional things that are going to cost extra, because in your normal standard build pricing on a square footage, it doesn't include putting in 1,500, underground water from the road or
a driveway,
electricity, all these kind of things. That's one of the unpredictable variables when it comes to, and that's what makes pricing so difficult, because people are like, well, just tell me what it costs. Well, there's a lot of factors for an individual home. And
that's not sidestepping the question. It's just,
it's not.
It's stuff that you have to know. I mean, a fireplace is going to cost extra. If you're going to do a big, wood burning or gas, whatever fireplace, that's going to be additional.
Right. If Drew, when you were building your home, you would have just threw your foot down and been like, no, I'm telling you, I want tile on the ceiling or something. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? What do you think you could have expected there?
Definitely my builder wouldn't have done it.
So, I mean, the thing about it is the budget is based on standard cost. It's based on, everybody's going to get in there and get their money. Electricians, plumbers, HVAC, flooring, the lumber package, the supply. When we send off for a lumber package with the building supply, they don't say, oh, it's a Barndominium. Yeah, that's going to be a lot cheaper for your lumber. No, that's not the way it works. Yeah. They're going to charge you the same way as the other guys, and sometimes more, because you're not building 100 houses at a time. And so, you got to keep that in mind, when you're trying to, especially if you're trying to be a lone ranger out there and you're, building for yourself. Don't buy into the misconception that you can have everything the nicest, have it all, and you're saving all this money because you don't have a builder involved. That's a big misconception.
Yeah, you're going to run into costly mistakes too.
You're going to it's going to cost you one way or the other if you want those things. Now, certainly you can decide to do without certain things. You can decide to not have sheetrock on your walls. You could just have open studs, but you're going to need some skilled trade people to help you. So that's, you got to take that in consideration. And look, builders, the margins aren't what you think they are. I can promise you that.
They're not.
All right.
Yeah, and I think the cool thing is, though, is you can kind of progress on the Barndominium as you go. I know some of our builds, it's kind of been built in phases where you may have finished the house portion, but they wanted to work on the shop later, or maybe wanted to add a bathroom to the shop part later, but you'd already roughed in the plumbing for it. So
we've added on to ours a couple of times.
Yeah.
Added on, and you can't tell the difference.
So maybe one of the biggest differences that I see would be the fact that you can pour that money. So if you have this allotted money for the house portion, you pour that into it, and then later on you can pour it into another aspect of the build, where it doesn't all have to be all at once, because then the builder's up and gone and done.
Right.
But you can
we
continue the project.
Prefer to finish all of our living square footages if we can. Obviously, we're in the business to finish. I have had people that reach out that say, hey, we just want you to do the shell, and we just want you to do this. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, but I can't go to that length and drive this far and only do this much work. So it'll have to be the whole package.
Yeah, because you're looking at issues down the road. If you had somebody else do your underground plumbing, and then you had some other plumber finish, and then you run into a problem, well, this plumber's going to blame that one, and the others, nobody's going to want to take.
It can be done, and more than likely you might find somebody who's willing to do that, but as far as we're concerned, we wouldn't be able to do that.
Well, and just like the keeping things moving or whatever, if we're waiting on your dad to do the floors, or
your cousin or your Uncle Tom.
I mean, it just
yeah.
Also, a lot of people think that going up is cheaper than going out on your square footage, on your footprint.
So going like 2-story versus single story.
Yeah.
Well, again, it refers to square footage, and I know that that's a cost related question as well, and which everybody wants to know about cost. But square footage, again, think about the differences. Yes, you're going to have one roof, but you're going to be building stairs now, and you're going to be having a subfloor, whether it's an open web truss versus an I-joist, and plus with the cost of lumber and how all that's gone. I mean, you're going to have similar costs upstairs as you do downstairs. So, for us, it's the living square footage, and that's the way our electricians get paid, plumbing, all this other kind of things are based on how many fixtures. And, like I said, when I buy a light fixture, they don't say, well, is this going upstairs? Okay, it'll be cheaper. No.
Yeah.
It's going to be, square footage.
Yeah, you're still going to have flooring up there, and you're going to have walls, and you're going to have all the same things that you have downstairs. So, yeah.
Right.
And then this isn't necessarily a huge question, but it's just one to probably address, is that we don't supply the appliances for the homes.
Right. So a couple other things we don't supply is as far as for us. And guys, these are just common questions that people ask us as a builder. So again, if you're building in another area out of the state, this is something that you'd want to know from your builder or whoever's helping you. But as far as we're concerned, we do not include in our price appliances, landscaping. We do
driveways.
We don't include driveways. These are or landscaping. But the reason why that it's not something that is cookie cutter that you could put a standard rate on. So you have to know exactly what you're going to do.
I mean, it's all stuff that we can do and that we can coordinate, but it's just not included in our pricing.
We would totally help do anything our client wants to do. We're not going to shy away from work, especially if we're already doing the big picture. But at the end of the day, it's not in our ticket because it takes special coordination and pricing per those items. Like if you gave us a full set of plans that had all that landscaping on it, I could price it. That wouldn't be a problem.
Right. Also, just since we're talking about financing, like how we finance. So we work with local lenders. and they set up an interim construction loan with the customer. That customer would then work with the bank on the tail end to finance the Barndo as a whole. But we would work with them on an interim basis based on progress. So when we would give the bank or the lender, we would give them basically a draw schedule of what whatever our total price was that we agreed to with the customer. It would just be broken down into line items and a price attached to them. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what we're paying.
I can talk about this for a minute because a lot of times I'm on the other end or in between, dealing with the client and trying to help understand how that works even once we're in the midst of it. But so the bank is going to want, in order to do, because you're talking about financing, how it works. Mm-hmm. Interim construction loan basically is a temporary time which you're getting a loan to build your home. So what it is as your builder will make a list of draws. As you make draws on that job, you'll pay interest based on the amount of money that's been drawn along the progress of the job. Mm-hmm. Okay. Because it's set up in that nature for an interim construction loan, we have to build a draw schedule, which is what I would call a calendar of payments. And that's really all it is on our end. I don't have itemized allowances when it comes to the builds that we do because we just give a standard finish. And then we, if there's something that's going to be higher end or whatever, we'll add that difference to the amount.
As a change order. Yeah,
as a change order along the way or ahead of time. If we know, hey, they want higher windows or they want this or that, we will make those adjustments on the front end so that we can have a full turnkey budget.
Right. 'Cause banks don't like change orders.
Banks really don't like it. That's unpredictability, and they would rather you have all of that
included up front.
Yeah. So, but in lieu of making the draw schedule, a lot of clients, of course, get to see that as we're making draws. And there's sometimes some confusion with the draw schedule because a lot of times people might think because they're seeing itemizations that that's the budget for each item. And, so we've spent a lot of time answering this question with our clients on a weekly basis sometimes maybe not that often, but we do spend some time answering this question that with the draw schedule, it has nothing to do relative to actual cost. It is just a draw schedule. So Brandy or Crystal in the office, in our administration, they will take, say, a lump sum bid and divide it up into however many items, such as it's going to be, let's say, $300,000. Well, concrete's going to be, whatever, $40,000. By the time you pour your foundation, then your steel goes up. You're going to draw this much, this much, this much, air conditioning, this much, electrical, this much.
But just because you have $10,000 on there for air conditioning does not mean that's what we're paying our AC guy.
Right. It doesn't mean the AC guy's getting that. Doesn't mean that's the budget for air conditioning. Doesn't mean that that's what we hope to pay for the air conditioning. It doesn't mean anything to do with the air conditioning.
Yeah.
So that can be confusing on interim construction. Any kind of loan, but any kind of draw schedule with your builder. So you want to make sure up front that you understand that and the perimeters of that. And I always try to tell people up front, especially now because we've had, a lot of conversations about this.
Yeah, just questions. Like, can I save money?
Yeah,
if I find somebody to do it cheaper?
I think that's the biggest question is they're wanting to kind of manipulate the budget. And it really, as far as we're concerned on our end, we don't have those options. So it does make it a little bit of a challenge because they're kind of fixated on a number. And it's like, no, just ignore it. Please ignore that. It really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So that's with the interim construction loan. Now, normally, like I said, the interim construction loan, they will give you like up to a year, typically. And depending on the situation, your bank will actually make adjustments if you needed to. Because there's some custom homes you could spend a year building.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Another thing that I get asked is, we want to walk through one. We want to see what it feels like. We want to see one in person. Do you have any that we can look through? And we do not. We don't have any kind of spec homes.
Not yet.
Currently. So everything that thus far is our customers' private homes. These are on their private properties. They are funding these projects, and so they're not ours to take people to necessarily. That would be something we would kind of need to get clearance first.
That's why we do the final tour video.
The videos, I know.
That's why Drew has a job.
Yeah.
Because of that.
But honestly, that is a question, though, that I get on.
Honestly, we feel like that as a company, we're doing more sharing than most people do, which it's a two-edged sword because you want to be, open, but at the same time, we are respectful of our clients, like Brandy said, and it's important to us that they can maintain their privacy. So we're not going to run school buses of people and lines and all that kind of stuff in there.
And share how much they cost.
Yeah, and we're not going to tell everybody how much our clients paid for their house. Although I know that would make great for our videos. I know that would make Drew wouldn't that be so much easier than
could answer the ongoing question.
The price tag, how much? And just think of it like this, like if you went to your maybe a friend's house or a newly acquainted friend that you didn't know that well, and it was a new house, would you ask them how much they paid for their house? Probably not.
Probably not.
And so that is kind of what it's like. I mean, these are our relationships, these are our customers, and we want them to retain their privacy as much as, they can. And, we feel blessed and honored that they will allow us to, just be a part of their project. And then at the same time, we are documenting this. And a lot of them, I think, as long as we can keep it in a private nature, a lot of them appreciate the documentation of
they can go back or share with their friends or whatever.
Yeah, they're able to look back at it and think about the process.
I think a lot of people are on board with that idea too.
Yeah.
What else we got, Brandy?
Let's see here.
Any other questions? Man, that's easy.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, that's the majority of what I talk about all day long.
Well, so those are routine questions that Brandy gets, and I mean, all pretty. They can take time to answer these questions, but imagine if you get 30, 40 calls a day and have to have that conversation that many times. So we hope that people will, listen to some of these responses, and maybe we can help curb some of that so that we're not having to repeat ourselves too much. But I think it's really important information. But, I think all along the way for us, as we get into this building Barndominiums start to finish series on the podcast, a lot of people's common questions are going to be answered, and I'm looking forward to it, especially bringing other people's perspectives onto the show, because I think it'll really be beneficial for people who are still hunting and searching. And there's a lot that, look, if I can learn, and I'm already building Barndominiums, hopefully people can continue to learn that are wanting to build a Barndominium. And we want to help you in every way that we can, because in the current state of things, we won't be able to help everybody that's wanting to just build with us. So we want to reach out across the aisle, right? I mean, that's what it's all about. So, and we're going to be going through things like plans and specs, budgeting, design costs. We're going to be talking about financing barndominiums. We're going to be talking about finding a barndominium builder. We're going to be talking about finding land. So we're going to bring in some folks to talk about with that. We're going to be talking about pad site preparation and why that's important. We'll be discussing the engineered foundations that we do in Texas and the processes that are involved with that and what you need to know in regards to soil tests and all these kind of things. We'll be talking about windows and doors and some good things to be thinking about when you're ordering those. We'll be talking about bolt-ups versus weld-up structures. We'll be talking about lumber. plumbing fixtures. It goes on pretty much everything to deal with when we're talking about building a barndominium. And I think it's going to be a great series that we can compile and people will be able to, use as an asset.
Absolutely.
So I think it's been a good discussion. We want to do is kind of do a little call to action thing here. And we're looking for some response from our listeners for those that might have a question that maybe hasn't been answered, and or some of their most wanted questions to be heard. And we want you guys to, contact us with a podcast question. It could be on the YouTube channel. It could be on our Instagram. You can send us a message there, TikTok, if possible, or you can email for now, you can email into office.texasbest@gmail.com, and we will try to take your questions and be able to make sure that those get applied in this whole build series. So
maybe put like podcast Q&A as a subject.
There you go. And that way it'll tell us where your question's coming from, but we can definitely compile all that in early on as we're putting all this together. So I think it's going to be a real great resource. And we're looking forward to all the relationships, connections, and networking that we can do and collaborations along the way. So appreciate Brandy being with us today, and none other than Drew Peterson here. And look, you guys can follow him as well. He's on YouTube and
Instagram.
Tell us how they can find you, Drew.
Right now, Instagram is Drew Peterson Life. That's Instagram, and then YouTube is actually the Wolfpack. And then I think I might be starting my own personal YouTube here soon. I'm not sure. I'm kind of like Brandon, just playing with the idea.
Well, don't let Drew kid you guys. He's got a great channel already, and that's how I found him, because early on he was helping. He was doing this YouTube stuff for a long time, and he's a great resource as well. Has a lot of information, and I lean on him. I lean on you a lot.
Thanks.
So but I certainly feel like I've been to school a little bit, working with Drew, shooting cameras, all this kind of stuff. I have to lean on his knowledge, though, because I would be lost. But I do appreciate all that you do, man. So this has been a great show, and I hope that you guys are looking forward to the next time. We will be back. So I'm Josh Helm.
And I'm Brandy Helm.
I'm Drew Peterson.
And we're wishing you all the best. Thanks for listening to the Texas Best Barndominium podcast.